Welcome to Hope is Here. My name is Greg Horn, and it is Wisdom Thursday here, and we've been doing a chapter of Proverbs here the last few weeks this summer, just trying to get you in the book of Proverbs. I think we all could use more wisdom. I know I can. And Solomon, the wisest man that walked the earth, wrote this book called Proverbs. And one of the great things is there's 31 chapters in Proverbs. They're not real long, and yet you can do whatever the day of the week is. I heard a pastor say that over 25 years ago, and I have done that off and on all throughout my life, and just has helped me a lot in making better decisions. And I think it'll bless you. So today we're going to look at chapter 18. If it's Thursday the 18th, you may be listening to this on a different day, but we're looking at chapter 18 because it's the 18th of August when this is being recorded. And we're going to look at some verses there that kind of spoke to me throughout my lifetime. Maybe it'll speak to you. The great part is I can read chapter 18, and for 1 year I did it all 12 months. So I read chapter 18 12 different times, and I'm a highlighter guy. And so it'd be interesting. I'd read a chapter, and in January, didn't speak to me, but come April, 4 months later, a verse would speak to me, and I might have done black ink pen and underlined something in January, but then in April I used a yellow highlighter, and I love it as I'm looking at it right now. I've got orange highlighter, a yellow highlighter, a blue highlighter, a blue ink pen, a black ink pen with several verses underlined. And so God knows what we need, so I share that with you. And so it's amazing over the years, this Bible that I've had reading from, I've had it for over 10 years now. It's my favorite study Bible. And God just knows what we need in different seasons of life. God has spoke to me with different things. And so I'm going to share some wisdom from Proverbs chapter 18 today. If you've got your Bible, hang out with us too in chapter 18. But chapter 18 verse 2 says, "Fools have no interest in understanding. They only want to air their own opinions." Fools have no interest in understanding. They only want to air their own opinions. I got to ask you today, and I don't like to I'm not calling anybody a fool, okay? That's not wise to call your listeners fools, but I will have to be honest. There's been times in my life where I've probably been foolish because I've just wanted to share my opinion on things. I believe, hopefully, over the last decade or so that I've gotten a lot better just being a better listener and hearing other people's sides, even though I still may not completely agree. At least at the end of the conversation, I have an understanding where they're coming from. I want to ask you a question today. Don't we all like to be understood or at least heard? So I want to encourage you today, and I want to challenge you today that maybe you need to just listen to somebody. If you've got a meeting with somebody, whether it's a family member, a child with an adult, spouse, a sister or brother, an aunt, uncle, coworker, neighbor, just whatever it is, just to say, you know what, God, I'm going to be a good listener, and before I air my opinion, I'm going to try to hear them and at least understand where they're coming from. And I've learned as I've tried to be a better listener and to understand others' viewpoints better. Doesn't mean that we have to compromise biblical principles, so please don't misunderstand me. But it's been a lot healthier for relationships when I listen and try to understand where somebody's come from, what angle, where their opinion's coming from. And I found sometimes, even in criticism of me from others, that there's usually maybe a little nugget of truth somewhere in there. It might only be 5% or 10%, but something that I can learn from. So I want to encourage you to be a good listener today. Friends, I talk about this often, I hope it's here, because it's so important. Our words, in Proverbs chapter 18, verse 4, it says, "A person's words can be life-giving water. Words of true wisdom are as refreshing as a bubbling brook." And I've seen that firsthand after being up in eastern Kentucky several times doing flood relief efforts. And they didn't have clean water. Some of them didn't have water at all. And then, so I took gallons of water to help some families that did not have water for a few days after the flood. And they just talked about, man, how not being able to take a shower for 3 days and then just pouring a gallon of water over, didn't realize how refreshing that was going to feel to do that. And, your words can be just refreshing to somebody else. I want to encourage you not to be so critical. Friends, we live in a culture that's so critical. As my friend Dave Willis, I used to work with at Northeast Christian Church, and now he and his wife Ashley are part of a wonderful marriage ministry, and I think it's called Marriage Today. I can't think of the name of it, but I would encourage you to look it up, Dave and Ashley Willis, and they have their own website and a great podcast on marriage. It really bless you. But he talks about, he said, be an encourager. The world already has enough critics. And that is just so true, friends. And your words can be an encouragement. Everybody needs encouragement. I need encouragement. I had somebody that sent me a Facebook message recently about Hope is Here and just said, I know you get this all the time, but I just wanted to let you know that when I went through a divorce once a couple years ago, that your Hope is Here program just really encouraged me between some of the things you said and some of the wonderful guests that have been on Hope is Here. Things that they share really, really helped me. And I just wanted to say thank you. And you probably hear this all the time, but I just wanted to say thank you. And, the funny part is you don't hear as much as you would think. I'm so thankful. And when that person sent it that time, it was just I was having a rough week. And sometimes you wonder, is anybody listening? And they are. And it'll be amazing. I may not hear anything for a week or two. And then maybe in 2 days I'll get 3 different people reach out and say, through a text, through an email, through a private Facebook message. And so I just want to say to you, if you've been blessed by Hope is Here, by either something that God's allowed me to share or by one of our wonderful guests that we've got some really good guests coming up in September and October, November. I think you're going to be really blessed by those. But please let us know. Email us. Go to our website, hopeisheretoday.org. That's hopeisheretoday.org. You can email us. Facebook, we're at Hope is Here. You can send a message that way, or Hope is Here Lex. On Twitter, people like to send messages that way, and Instagram, Hope is Here Lex. TikTok, Hope is Here Lex. Send those messages. Sherelle Smith's a great encourager, and Tom Haley, guys that really encourage me in this ministry, and so thankful that they take time to do that. And if you would do it, that'd be a great source of encouragement to me and the other people on our wonderful ministry team that do such a great job. And especially want to thank Megan and Tammy, our radio producer, and Tammy, our podcast producer, and our digital communications specialist that handles the website, the email blast, does a phenomenal job. And I want to speak encouraging words over Megan and Tammy and say thank you so much for them. And thank you so much for those of you that financially provide so that we can do this ministry. Can't do it without you. And I'm so thankful. I'm thankful we have people that give $10 a month, and I'm so thankful for that sacrifice that they make. And we have people that will give $100 a month, and I'm just so thankful. And we have people who give $500 a month. Most donations are $100 or less, and man, I'm so thankful for each and every one of those. And I know that people make a sacrifice, and I know people that send those $10 each month, just, man, that's a sacrifice for them. And I'm so thankful. Thank you for entrusting this ministry with that so that we can provide hope here both in central Kentucky and then all across the world with these podcasts. And just so thankful for all of you that give to Hope is Here, both as God lays it on your heart and those who are faithful monthly ministry partners. Thank you so much. We talked about words. Proverbs chapter 18, verse 7 says, the mouth of fools are their ruin. Their lips get them into trouble. Friends, your words matter. That James 1:19, be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. Just be careful with your words. Proverbs chapter 18, verse 9 says, a lazy person is as bad as someone who destroys things. Friends, don't be lazy. We have to be careful. Type A's like me, we can get busy doing too many things. But I also know some people that they're lazy. And I want to encourage you. And there's certain areas maybe I'm a procrastinator in and things I need to do. So I want to be careful. I don't mean just about working, okay? But we just need to be careful about being lazy. And, just ask God to show you if there's an area of your life in that maybe you are a little lackadaisical, might be a more diplomatic word than lazy. I love Proverbs chapter 18, verse 10. It says, the name of the Lord is a strong fortress. The godly run to him and they are safe. Friends, I want to remind you today, whatever you're dealing with, you can always run to the arms of Jesus. And he's there waiting with his arms wide open and is there for you and wants to help you. He's a strong fortress, and as follower of Jesus, as his kids, when we run to him, we are safe. Proverbs chapter 18, verse 10 says. Proverbs 18, verse 14 says, the human spirit can endure a sick body, but who can bear it if the spirit is crushed? Friends, sometimes we can handle physical pains and challenges, but man, when our hearts are just wounded and hurting, our spirits just crushed and discouraged, it's hard to just keep going and move forward. And that's why I pray that this 14-minute program, Hope is Here, helps your spirit to be encouraged, to be lifted up, and to know that God loves you and that he's for you and he wants to help you and that there's always hope because of Jesus, friends, always. I love how it cuts to the chase in Proverbs. We're in Proverbs chapter 18 hanging out. Verse 17, it says, any story sounds true until someone sets the record straight. Oh, I love that. I've had to learn the hard way, but hopefully I'm doing a better job as I get older, that there's always two sides to every story. And just make sure sometimes if you hear something about somebody, especially if it's not pleasant, to make sure that you maybe hear their side of the story, because sometimes it's not the way it went down, and people can kind of cloud things by their own opinions. And I know we've all seen the game. You can have 7 people in a circle, and you start with something and tell somebody a sentence about a situation, and then by the time you get to the last person, the 7th person, there's a couple of things that are kind of off kilter, that aren't accurate in that. And, friends, we just have to be careful with that. And that's why I want to just kind of remind you that if somebody gossips to you about somebody else, you can be rest assured they'll do the same thing about your life to somebody else too. So be careful about your words and what you say and who you say them to. Also, we talk about listening, and we're going to close out with Proverbs chapter 18, verse 21. It says, those who love to talk will experience the consequences, for the tongue can kill or nourish life. It's kind of interesting. This has been a common thread. We're talking about the power of words. So I want to encourage you today. In fact, I want to challenge you today to make sure that your words matter, and just to make sure they're edifying. They're words that are encouraging, that are positive, that help lift people up and encourage them, and are God-honoring, and not to be negative or critical with your mouth. Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, but thanks for joining us today. I hope that you'll invite a friend to join us again tomorrow. My name's Greg Horn, and this is Hope is Here.